Hey guys, welcome back to Dega Babe, and this week finally it's my Last Jedi trailer number 2 breakdown. So, as we all know, in the last week or so, it's been pretty exciting for all of us Star Wars fans, with the final trailer for The Last Jedi being released during halftime on Monday Night Football in the US. And I actually sat up through the night to get to see this trailer, so it was like 3 AM here in Ireland when I was watching it online as it got released. And I also watched an awful lot of live stuff of other people getting ready, and I think everybody was just stunned when we saw this trailer. I for one was really excited after seeing it, and I have to say that now I'm counting the hours, the seconds, the minutes, the days, the weeks up until I get to see this film. And I've even already got my tickets, which I'm sure so many of you have as well, because I just couldn't let that moment pass. I have to see the preview night, the midnight screening of it here in Dublin, and I will be in Cineworld that night, and I'm really looking forward to it because they do an entire party and everything. It's really cool. So, after seeing it the first time, initially it was just pure excitement and I got very emotional, and I actually cried quite a bit. And then I composed myself and I went back in and I started to watch the trailer again and again and again. And I was planning to actually bring you this video about a week ago, but unfortunately Ireland got hit by a hurricane and things were just absolutely crazy here, and I just wasn't able to do it. And then I was to shoot this yesterday, but then we got hit again by a second storm. It wasn't a hurricane, but it was a pretty strong storm called Storm Brian, which ripped the arse out of Ireland yesterday, and unfortunately it was affecting my power here in my house, which meant my studio lights kept flickering on and off, and I wasn't able to record it. But finally, today, I get around to shooting this video. So there's a lot to do here, so I've actually printed up all my notes from the trailer, which I know was lame. You think I'd be able to remember everything, but I didn't want to leave anything out, so I did up these notes to help me to remember to talk about everything that I really want to talk about. So, let's get started. Oh, and I've got my water because to be sure, my throat is going to dry out and I'm going to start coughing as I talk about this. So, as the trailer opens, the very first thing we got to see was an image of Kylo Ren standing on what looks like the deck of a ship, which is strangely looks like it's inside a base of something else, and something else that's really massive. And the first thing I did notice about this, the minute I saw it, the first thing I thought of was Anakin Skywalker, and I think it was the way that Kylo Ren is standing, kind of his feet apart, and he has his hands behind his back, and you've got the 3 panels of the glass window in front of him, and it just reminded me of that famous shot of Anakin Skywalker standing in, I think it's in Naboo, on a balcony, and again there are 3 panels in front of him looking out onto these gardens and a lake, because they're separated by pillars. So it was very similar to that, so I feel like Rian Johnson was kind of paying homage to Anakin Skywalker, and maybe at the same time also telling us that Kylo Ren is indeed a very troubled individual, as was Anakin, and is travelling down the same path as him. And already my throat's getting dry, so do you like my Last Jedi mug? It's awesome, isn't it? It's got Lukey on the front, my favourite. So I noticed that the first time, but when I back and looked at it, I actually started to notice what was outside the window around him and that he was looking out on. And I got pretty excited because, excuse me, it looked like they were, the First Order, are manufacturing something absolutely huge. Because if you look very carefully in that shot, you'll actually see, I'm going to try and show you here, you'll see an ATS walker walking around, and you'll also see an AT-AT walking around, and they are completely dwarfed by something massive being built around them. And a lot of people, I think, are considering that it could be the new walkers, the hold on, I can never remember it, the AT-M6, which are these ones that look like the silverback gorilla. They're kind of a silverback gorilla shape to them. They also have a cannon now built into the back of them. And a lot of people, I think, are considering that it could be that. But I don't know, because what they're showing in that shot looks far bigger than even those walkers. So is it that they're now working on another mass weapon and they've abandoned the whole idea of, the only way I can put it, a bally shaped weapon? Because let's face it, any bally shaped weapons in the past haven't quite succeeded, have they? The Resistance and the Rebellion have always managed to find a weakness and completely obliterate them. So maybe now they've come up with something even better that's not going to be so easy to penetrate and completely take apart. Which would be really cool. I'd like to see them actually learn their lesson about that. So moving on from that scene, we hear Snoke, and we also see an image of Kylo Ren walking into what looks like a cave on Crate with a number of the Imperial stormtroopers, the snow troopers, walking behind him. And the shot again is paying homage to Anakin Skywalker. It's showing that moment very similar to Revenge of the Sith, when Anakin walked into the Jedi Temple and he murdered those Padawan, the younglings. And again, they did an overhead shot of him walking in with the clone army walking behind him. So again, I felt they were paying homage, or what we're seeing is that Kylo Ren is going to go in and really commit some truly terrible, terrible, terrible crime against the Resistance, or against, maybe, we don't know yet, maybe there are people living on Crate that have nothing to do with the Resistance and we know nothing about it. Maybe he's going to go in and slaughter them, and it's really going to show us this very dark, terrible, twisted, evil side to him that we didn't really see before. So we saw that, but we also hear Snoke overhead, his voice, over the shot, saying he's seen the raw, untamed power, and it's something truly special. And we all consider that maybe he's saying this to Kylo Ren, but he could also be saying this to Rey. He's saying, when I found you. And something kind of occurred to me that is probably just totally off the wall, but we're all considering that Rey could be Leia's child, which is a possibility still, we don't know. Or obviously somebody else's, and they hid her on Jakku. But has anybody considered that maybe Snoke is the one who hid her on Jakku? Maybe he hid her there so that he could use that power and manipulate it for himself later on, because he didn't want Luke to get his hands on her, because he knew that Luke would be able to keep her on the light side of the Force. That kind of occurred to me, and I mean, it's totally crazy and off the wall, and it's probably not the case, but I just wondered about that, if that could possibly be the case in the trailer. Possibly it is. During that shot, we actually get to see the AT-M6s all lining up, and we see Kylo Ren's transporter just above them, and obviously this is going to be an epic battle on Crate between the Resistance and the First Order, and people have been kind of complaining, a lot of people don't like the look of the AT-M6s because of the way they're standing, and they kind of look a bit, they think they look a bit lame. I think they look awesome, and I'm wondering if the reason the legs have changed and they're standing the way they are, and they're much larger than the AT-ATs, which you can see in that shot. You will see an AT-AT in among the AT-M6s, and you can see just how small they are compared to the new walkers. And I considered that maybe they have manufactured them now in such a way that little X-Wings and snow speeders can no longer wrap cables around the legs and take them down. Which would be cool, because I'd like to see it a little more difficult for the Resistance, because it's been a little bit too easy for them and the Rebellion to take these things down. The Empire and the First Order kind of get things wrong a lot, so I would like to see one movie where they kind of don't get it wrong. And I have a feeling this film might be it. It's going to be extremely dark. I mean, we all thought that from that red font anyway in the title, so possibly it's going to be extremely, extremely dark and very, very evil and horrible and upsetting to those of us who love the Resistance and who love Luke Skywalker. And you see that lining up, and I noticed that when they're lined up, they're in front of a whole kind of plateau of rocks right in front of them. I'm kind of wondering, are they going to blow those rocks to pieces to get through, to get to the Resistance base, which is obviously on the other side of these salt plains, which by the way were shot in Bolivia, and they really do look like that. They are white with this red soil underneath, and they're actually quite spectacular. So yeah, I consider that they are going to blow that to pieces to get in there, and that's going to be one epic, epic battle, something like the battle on Hoth, only even bigger and crazier, and like it's on steroids, and it's going to be really, really cool, and I can't wait for that. So sorry, I'm looking down at my notes again. Oh, we get to see, then we go to Skellig, here in Ireland, which is just fantastic. And this is while Snoke is saying the same thing about that raw power. And we see Rey putting on the lightsaber, and she actually looks a little uncomfortable putting it on at first. Maybe because the last experience she had with it was truly a terrifying one with Kylo Ren. And this time, of course, she's being trained and she's putting on that lightsaber and getting ready to learn how to fight. And we get to see her, which I thought was really well done in the trailer, we get to see her doing some serious moves with that lightsaber, but it's all done to the music, so you get that boom, 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 and she swings that saber out into that rock. That rock, by the way, is not a prop. That rock is real. It's on Skellig Michael. You can actually go see it there. So that's, it looks like it may have been a monument that's worn away or what's left of it, but they obviously used it to their advantage in the film, which is really, really cool. So I thought that was a really cool shot. I think the one that kind of got me in this trailer was just after that, when you see Rey sitting up on a rock in a very sort of transcendental meditation state, and she's closing her eyes and all the little rocks are raising beneath her hands, and Luke is standing behind her when suddenly the ground just cracks and opens up, and the look of fear on Luke's face when he sees it really got my attention. I thought, he looks absolutely terrified, and we find out in the trailer that we were right to think that. It's true, he is terrified by that, because we hear that line, I've seen this raw strength only once before, it didn't scare me enough then, it does now. We can only assume that he's talking about Kylo Ren. And of course, I don't know how we didn't notice that before, because in The Force Awakens, that moment when he's on the bridge and he murders poor Han still kills me every time I see it. You know, I didn't see it coming because I avoided every trailer and every piece of information, so I didn't know that Harrison Ford had said he wanted to be written out. So I really didn't see that coming. I kind of guessed when he walked out on the bridge, but I really didn't think they'd go there, but they did, and it was heartbreaking. But if you remember that moment out on that bridge, he takes off his helmet, Kylo Ren, and he drops it on the bridge. And the sound of it hitting the bridge, it hits it as if he has just dropped a huge anvil of steel on this bridge. And I felt that if I was going to try and pick that helmet up, I don't think I'd be able to get it off the ground. So he obviously does have a very raw strength. And having that in mind, we then see that moment where he takes that helmet in his hand. And this is the moment where you hear him saying, kill the past. What is it? Did I write that bit down? I don't think I did actually. Oh, I did actually. Let the past die. Sorry, I'm desperate. Let the past die. Kill it if you have to. And at that moment you do see him looking at his helmet in his hand, and then he smashes it into the wall. And the wall, his arm literally goes right through the wall. So he is somebody who has a raw strength and a really ultimate power, and now we see that Rey also has that. And Luke Skywalker, having experienced this with Kylo when he was younger, maybe didn't realise it was something to be feared, may have been in awe of it and thought, this child's going to be the most amazing Jedi we've ever seen, and never thought for 1 minute that that child would turn to the dark side. And so he sees the destruction that Kylo Ren has caused, and now it really does frighten him. A lot of people are saying he's saying that to Rey in that scene, not Kylo Ren about the past, but about, well, actually I think he is saying that to Rey, but Luke, the part where he says, I've only ever seen this raw strength once before. I don't think he's saying that to Rey. I don't think he'll want to share that with Rey. I think he will want to keep that very much to himself. We're considering that he could be saying it to a Force ghost of Obi-Wan. Yeah, could be a possibility, and it would be really cool if it was. But he could also be saying it to the Guardians of Ahch-To, which are these strange looking little creatures that have kind of veils, almost look like monks. He could actually be saying it to them. I believe they're female, and there is a strong possibility that he's talking to them about it. So yeah, it's unlikely he's saying it to a pork. So yeah, he could be saying it to them and not actually to Rey. I have a feeling he won't be saying that to Rey, that he would keep that very much. He won't want to show her his fear and that he's terrified of her. He will keep that very much to himself. So then during that moment that he's saying, Kylo Ren is saying, let the past die, we also get to see this epic space battle going on, and we get to see the ship of just for a second, the ship of Snoke in the background in that shot. But we also get to see that Kylo Ren is a pretty awesome pilot. Everybody says Poe Dameron is the greatest pilot in the galaxy, but I'm not so sure after looking at that scene, because Kylo Ren really does look like he kicks ass. He's got some serious flying skills there. So I can't wait to see that. And then, just seconds after that, we see the moment that grabs our hearts and rips our hearts from our chests. First of all, we see beautiful Carrie, and she really does look beautiful in this film. And she looks like she's feeling Kylo Ren. And he's in his fighter. And we see that moment where he stops, and he really does look a little like he doesn't know if he can do this, he doesn't know if he really wants to do this, he really does love his mother, but it does look for that moment like he is going to open fire on the bridge of the ship that she's on and kill her. And there is a possibility they could kill Carrie off in this film, or Leia, not Carrie, oh god, I always do that, could kill Leia off in this film because Carrie has passed and she can't be in the next film. But I have a weird feeling they won't. I don't think so. I think they'll take a different path, and I think it's made to look like that, but I don't know that Kylo Ren will go through it. But what I am hoping for, and I really would love to see it, is to see Leia use the Force for the first time ever. We have never seen her do it. She could feel things, she always talks about them, but we never see her actually use the Force. Will she talk to Kylo Ren from the bridge while he's on the fighter? Will she talk to him using the Force? If she does, that would be so awesome. So I hope that they do that. That would be really cool. So moving on from that little bit, we saw a moment where the Millennium Falcon is flying through Crate, and it flies through this cave full of these beautiful, crazy, crimson blood red crystals. There's been a lot of talk that that could be kyber crystals. I don't think so. I don't agree that it's kyber crystals. We all know, those of us who are big into the lightsaber, that the kyber crystal is clear. It has no colour. It only determines its colour by the person who's holding that saber. So, meaning if you watch carefully, and of course in all the movies which you know, that the sabers when you're a Padawan you're learning are blue, when you're a Jedi they're green, if you're a Sith they're red, so they change according to the person. They're a bit like a mood ring, aren't they? They're a bit like that, so they change like that. So I don't think so. I think it was just a really spectacular looking cave that they're using for effect in the movie, and it will really be cool. Oh, Poe Dameron. Did anybody notice this in the trailer? Because I've not seen anybody talking about this. If you can hear scratching, by the way, it's Boo Boo 8 is at the door. She's trying to scratch her way in here, but she ain't getting in, not today. We hear Poe Dameron at one point saying that we have a spark that can light the fire and take the First Order down. Has anybody considered who he's actually saying that to? I personally think it's Finn. We do see a shot of Finn in a First Order officer's uniform, and he does look a bit like he's quite settled into that role. Now, it could be a case that he's been sent in there to infiltrate the First Order and to be a spy and find things out, but wouldn't they recognise him? Because he was already there, they'd know who he is. My theory is that he wakes from that coma and can't remember that he is now with the Resistance, and still only remembers the earlier part of his life when he's with the First Order, and he goes back to that life thinking it's completely normal. And this is Poe Dameron trying to convince him that this is not the person he is, that they want him to come back to them. And then after that, of course, will ensue that fight with Phasma. And I'm so thrilled that Phasma's going to fight in this film. I can't wait to see that. There's nothing better than seeing a woman in a Star Wars movie kicking ass. And we've seen it with Rey, and now we get to see it with Phasma, with the amazing Gwendolyn Christie, who I absolutely adore. She is brilliant. So I really can't wait to see that fight between her and Finn. And I believe that's after Poe Dameron convinces him and gets him to wake up and see that he's a good person and he's not actually a First Order member at all. So I really do feel that they could go down that road. So guys, sorry, I started coughing, so I had to stop for a second. So we move on to that moment then where Luke is lying on the ground in what looks like a very heavy rain kind of shower on Ahch-To, and he says, "This is not going to turn out the way you think." And we have to ask ourselves, who the hell is he saying that to? There is a possibility he's saying it to Rey, But I kind of feel he might be saying it to Kylo Ren. Of course Kylo Ren's going to find his way to Ahch-To. There's going to be, I reckon, a crazy fight, and we're hoping we're going to see Luke pick up a saber and really show his skills after all these years and fight Kylo Ren, who still is not as polished. We have to remember that literally only hours have passed since The Force Awakens, so in our heads we feel like it's probably a long time, but it isn't. It's probably literally only hours before Kylo Ren catches up to Rey on Ahch-To with Chewbacca and with R2-D2. So I had to consider that, and we remember that Force vision. There was a scene that was in a rocky area and it was raining very heavily, and Rey's Force vision, I believe that connects with this particular scene where Luke is saying that. So I would definitely put those two things together there. One other thing I noticed that I don't understand why people are not really focusing on is the crystalline foxes. They keep showing them to us, and they showed them to us in the behind the scenes reel, and again we're seeing them in the Last Jedi trailer. And you know, everybody's been so focused on the cute little porgs. Of course we do see a porg in this trailer screaming his little head off, that we've forgotten about those crystalline foxes. We're kind of focusing so much on the cute porgs, we don't notice the other creatures. And the only other creature we've really seen is the crystalline fox in the trailers. We have also seen that space horse thing that's on Canto Bight, but they're not focusing too much on that, but they are focusing on the crystalline foxes. It's occurred to me that the crystalline foxes could in fact be Kyber foxes. Are they Kyber foxes? They could be, because their crystals would make more sense to me than the ones in the red crystals in the cave, which are clearly not Kyber crystals because they're red. But it could be that these creatures are Force sensitive. They're connected to the Force and very aware of what's going on around them. I mean, after all, we see them in that scene running into what looks like a resistance base on Crate and heading in there. And if you look very closely on that scene, you will actually see that that opening is actually closing. It's moving, very subtly moving. It's only after watching that trailer about 300 times that I noticed that that's actually closing, and they seem to be running for cover. Obviously, the other part at the very beginning of the trailer, which is the lineup of the ATM-6s and the AT-ATs with Kylo Ren's transporter on Crate. These crystalline foxes have felt this, they know it's coming, and they're running for cover in the resistance base because they know it's going to go on lockdown. And hopefully, I'm kind of thinking at the same time that the First Order have learned that they need to manufacture their weapons a little differently so that the Resistance can't destroy them. I'm hoping that the Resistance have done the same thing, because let's face it, on Hoth, the Empire didn't have a very tough time trying to get into that base, and they all had to evacuate and meet at the rendezvous point. So it has occurred to me that they now have a base that will close and just go on complete lockdown, and it's not so easy to get through it. So yeah, that's our crystalline foxes, and I'm going to move to my last page. Throw that one away like a newsreader and today's news. Oh, Rey underwater, and they do only show it for a split second, but me, as I'm a free diver, I really wanted to see that properly, so I pulled a screenshot from it and I'm going to show it to you here of Rey diving beneath the water, which we assume is on Ahch-To. Two possibilities here. One, that it's part of her training and she's being sent in there for a reason, which I'll tell you in a sec, that I believe it could be. Or secondly, she's going in there to have a Force vision, something like Luke's on Dagobah when he went into that kind of overgrown cave of trees and he met a vision of Darth Vader coming the other way, and it turned out it was actually himself. So it could be something like that, because as a freediver you learn how to conserve your energy, you learn how to become very aware of your body, your movements, your lungs, your heart, everything about yourself. And it could be that she's being sent in there on that same kind of technique to help her to go into a very high state of mind that will bring her through a vision, and very safely, because she's in water. She can't get hurt, she's in water, and she knows how to control herself in it. That could be one reason. The other reason, if you look very carefully at that screenshot, I'll show it you again, that screenshot, you'll notice to the right of her there is what looks like the skull of some truly weird, hideous looking creature. Looks like a dragon's head almost, sitting on the seabed beside her. And I'm wondering if Luke has sent her in there to have a face-off with something really truly hideous that's in that water. And she has to fight it to learn her Jedi skills and to really be a part of the whole Jedi Order and the light side and to become strong. Well, strong mentally, maybe not physically, as we could see she's able to crack the ground open. And then we move on from that and we see that moment with Snoke. And I think this scene really grabbed everybody, where Rey is bent over backwards and she's screaming in pain, and she looks like it's a force movement, it's holding her there. It looks like Snoke is doing it, but I'm not so sure. I think maybe Kylo Ren is the one who might be doing it. Or it's a force vision. It's not actually happening at all. It's showing her what could happen or where it can go and the strength that's there. And Snoke is saying, fulfill your destiny. I don't know that he's actually saying that to Rey. Could it be that he's saying it to Kylo Ren? Because let's face it, Kylo Ren, as part of fulfilling his destiny, had to kill his father, possibly kill his mother, kill his sister? If she's his sister. I'm not saying she is. I'm not saying she is. I don't know. I'm just saying she could be. Could be the case that she's his sister. That Leia is her mother, Han is her father. We don't know. They might have just avoided that for a long time. Or it could be that she's the child of some new character that we never even knew about. I doubt she's Luke's. I just have this thing that she's not Luke's child. Yeah, I don't think so. So it could be that. It could be that Kylo Ren is actually saying that to her. And he's the one actually holding her in that position backwards. And Snoke is not actually the one doing it. Because Snoke looks to me like he might be a bit of a weak old sod who really is very good at manipulation, but that's really about it. I'm kind of hoping that could be the case. Of course, in those scenes you do actually get to see the red guards here and there. If you look in the background, you'll see the red guards here and there. Which I'm not crazy about the uniforms. I don't know. Is it just me? They look a little bit kind of plasticky? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe when we actually see them in action, they'll be really, really cool. Then the last moment of that trailer is the one that got everybody going, and that's that moment where Rey is talking to Kylo Ren, and she said, I need someone to show me my place in all of this, and you see him putting out his hand. I hate to tell you people, but they're not the same scene. That's not the same shot. Definitely not. No matter how many times I looked at it, I couldn't accept it as the same shot. The light is slightly off. Okay, it's the same kind of tone, but the light is kind of off. You've got a very vibrant, bright orange light on Kylo Ren, which implies that there's a massive fire nearby and there's embers and everything falling behind him. Obviously the same scene where we saw Luke's mechanical hand coming up out of all the wood in the ground. That same scene also where you see Luke putting his hand on R2-D2. So possibly that's the scene. The scene that Rey is in is clearly looks more like a candlelight beside her. It looks very kind of warm and ambient and very nice. And it looks like she might be in a cave because there's clearly an echo. I wonder what cave she could be in. Or a tree. Maybe she's in a tree. So that's a strong possibility that she's actually inside a tree, which we've already seen in the previous Last Jedi trailer. And now we've actually seen it in a TV spot as well. There's a new TV spot that came out after this trailer. And I think she's actually saying that to Luke, because in the new TV spot we actually hear Luke saying, why are you here? And I think he's saying that, of course, to Rey. Oh, there goes Boo Boo. Is she going to bark at the end of my video and ruin it? Good girl. Why are you here? And she says, because I need someone to show me my place in all of this. So I believe she's saying that to Luke on Ahch-To. She's not actually saying it to Kylo Ren at all. Having said that, who the hell is Kylo Ren putting his hand out to? That's the other part we don't know. Is it that he's doing it to Luke? I don't know. I really don't know about that part. And it's got my interest a lot because I would love to know who the hell is he putting his hand out to. It's not Rey. So they are my thoughts on the Last Jedi trailer. And when that TV spot came out, you may not, I don't know if you've seen it, but there was a moment in it where they actually had a voiceover come in and say some scenes in this movie may not be suitable for children, and I was so thrilled when I heard that. I'm sorry, little kids, I'm so sorry. But it meant that this movie is going to be very dark. It's going to take a very dark turn and be quite maybe disturbing in places and maybe freak us all out. And I think that's going to be awesome. Can we get a dark Star Wars movie that will overshadow The Empire Strikes Back? Because let's face it, that's the one that's taking the spotlight every time. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll do it this time. Maybe Rian Johnson will be that man who does that, which would be really, really cool. So that's what I think about the trailer, guys. Please comment below. Let me know what you thought of the trailer, where you think it's all going to go. Who's Rey speaking to who's Kylo Ren speaking to, who knows? And we all, of course, have to wait until December to actually see the film, which is not far now. We don't have long to wait now. So, if you're new to my channel, guys, don't forget to subscribe and hit that little red and white button below. Come along with me and join the force and we can rule the galaxy together. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. I'm on all of those as well. And that's it for me. Have a great week, guys. May the force be with you. Bye.